My fiancé announced, "I'm not signing the marriage license. I want the wedding, but not the legal commitment." After 200 guests arrived, I said, "That's fraud." Then I canceled the ceremony, explained to everyone, and turned the reception into a dodged-a-bullet party. When the DJ played "Thank You" next, I, 31 male, am writing this from what was supposed to be my honeymoon suite. Alone, with a $14 minibar Heineken and the remains of a $38,000 wedding that turned into the most legendary party my family has ever thrown. Buckle up. So I've been with my fiancé for 4 years. Met through mutual friends at a barbecue. The whole normal origin story. She was smart, funny, had this energy that just pulled people in. We moved in together after a year, got engaged after 2.5. Everything felt solid. Not perfect. We argued about dishes and her spending habits, and the fact that she could never be on time to literally anything but solid. The wedding planning was a lot. She wanted a big wedding. Like big. Her mom was even worse. Every conversation was about upgrades. The florist package wasn't enough. We needed the premium botanical experience. The DJ wasn't enough. We needed a live band and a DJ. I was footing about 70% of this because her parents kept making promises about contributing and then getting vague when it came time to actually write checks. Her dad eventually threw in $5,000 and acted like he donated a kidney. I should have seen the red flags. About 3 months before the wedding, she started making weird comments. Things like, "Marriage is just a piece of paper anyway," and "I don't think the government should be involved in love." I thought she was just being philosophical, being a little quirky. You know how people get when they're stressed about wedding planning. 2 weeks before the wedding, she brought up a prenup. Not in the let's protect each other way. She wanted me to sign something her coworker's boyfriend apparently drafted, not a lawyer, a guy who sells insurance, that basically said if we divorced, she'd get the house. The house. The house I bought 2 years before I even met her. The house I put $60,000 down on. I laughed and said absolutely not, and she dropped it. Or I thought she did. The wedding day. Saturday. Gorgeous weather, which felt like the universe giving me a thumbs up. 200 guests. Venue looked incredible. To give her credit, the decorations were beautiful. My family flew in from 3 different states. My grandma, who's 84 and doesn't travel, made the trip. My best man had rearranged his entire work schedule. 45 minutes before the ceremony, I'm in the groom's suite with my guys, and the wedding coordinator knocks on the door, looking like she's about to deliver a terminal diagnosis. She says my fiancé needs to talk to me. Privately. I walk into the bridal suite. She's fully done up. Hair, makeup, the dress, everything. She looks stunning. And she hits me with this. "So, I've been thinking, and I don't want to sign the marriage license today. I want the wedding, the ceremony, the party, all of it. But I'm not comfortable with the legal part right now. We can do that later. Maybe in a few months." I just stood there. I think my brain actually blue screened for a second. "You want to have a fake wedding?" I said. "It's not fake. It's a commitment ceremony. Lots of people do them. Lots of people plan them that way from the start. You're telling me this 45 minutes before 200 people expect to watch us get legally married." She started doing the thing she always does, talking fast, minimizing, making it sound like I was overreacting. "It's not a big deal. Nobody will even know. The officiant can just skip that part. We'll still say vows. We'll still have the reception. Nothing changes. Everything changes. You're asking me to stand in front of my grandmother, my parents, my friends, and lie to them. That's fraud." She got angry. "You're being dramatic. This is about US, not a piece of paper. Then why did you let me spend $38,000 on a wedding that isn't a wedding?" She didn't have a good answer for that. She started crying and said I was ruining the best day of her life. I said, "You ruined it 45 minutes ago." I walked out, went back to the groom's suite. My best man took one look at my face and said, "How bad?" I told him. He said 2 words, "Burn it down." So I did. I walked out to the ceremony area where 200 people were sitting in white chairs waiting for a wedding. I stepped up to the front, no music, no processional, just me and my tux. And I said, "Hey, everyone, thank you all so much for being here. I love every single one of you, and I appreciate you showing up for us. But I need to be honest with you. About 45 minutes ago, my fiancée informed me that she doesn't want to sign the marriage license. She wants the wedding, but not the legal commitment. I'm not going to stand up here and perform a fake ceremony, and I'm not going to lie to all of you. So the wedding is off. Dead. Silence. Like you could hear the birds. Then my uncle, God bless this man, yelled from the back row, "So he's still eating, or what?" And honestly, that broke the tension perfectly. People laughed. Some people were crying. My mom looked like she wanted to commit a felony. My fiancé's mom was already storming toward me, screaming about humiliation and "how dare you." And my dad stepped in front of her like a Secret Service agent and said, "Ma'am, your daughter humiliated herself." I'd already paid for the venue, the catering, the DJ, the open bar, all of it non-refundable. So I made the call. I grabbed the mic and said, "The food is paid for, the bar is open, and the DJ is here for 4 more hours. If you want to stay and help me celebrate not making the worst mistake of my life, you're welcome to." About 150 people stayed. The DJ, who was apparently living for the drama, asked me what I wanted to hear first. I said, "Surprise me." He opened with "Thank You," next by Ariana Grande, and the place absolutely erupted. My grandma was clapping. My cousin started a conga line. It was surreal. My fiancée and her family left within 20 minutes. She was sobbing. Her mom was screaming in the parking lot. Her dad just looked tired. Her maid of honor came up to me and, I'm not making this up, said I told her not to do this, and then stayed at the party. It was the best non-wedding I've ever been to. People kept coming up to me, saying they were proud of me, that I did the right thing. My grandma held my face in both hands and said, "You're smarter than your grandfather was." Grandpa apparently had his own stories. LOL. I'm not going to pretend I didn't go back to the hotel room and sit on the bathroom floor for an hour afterward. For years, I loved her. Part of me still does, which is the part one hate the most right now. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand there and lie. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Alone in a honeymoon suite with overpriced beer. Probably going to eat room service pasta and watch something stupid on TV. If anyone has recommendations for what to do when your life implodes, I'm all ears. Update 1, 5 days later. Okay, so this blew up way more than I expected. I've gotten hundreds of messages and I want to address some stuff and also update you because boy has it gotten worse. First, a lot of people asked if she gave any explanation for why she didn't want to sign. I didn't have an answer in my first post because she literally wouldn't tell me. Well, now I know. 2 days after the non-wedding, my best man called me. He'd been doing some digging because that's just who he is. The guy researches restaurants before he eats there. So, he's investigating this. Turns out my fiancée had been talking to her co-workers about this for weeks. One of them sent my best man screenshots of a group chat. In this group chat, my ex-fiancée explained her whole plan. She didn't want to legally marry me because, and I'm paraphrasing from multiple messages, she wanted the social status of being married without the financial risk. She specifically mentioned that she'd been advised by the same insurance guy who drafted that fake prenup, that if we weren't legally married, she could still live in my house, benefit from my income, and if things went south, she wouldn't owe me anything and I couldn't claim any of her assets either. She called it having the cake and eating it too. But here's the part that really got me. In one message she said, and this is a direct quote from the screenshot, "He's too nice to call it off in front of everyone. He'll just go along with it." She bet on me being a pushover. She bet on public pressure keeping me quiet. And honestly, if I was the version of me from 5 years ago, she probably would have been right. So that's been fun to process. Now for the entitlement escalation. Buckle up, part 2. 3 days after the wedding, her mom called my mom, not me, my MOM, and demanded that I reimburse them for the $5,000 her dad contributed, plus the cost of my ex's dress for $1,200. Plus the bridesmaid's dresses, $2,800 total, plus emotional distress. Her mom actually used the phrase emotional distress like she was filing a lawsuit over a fender bender. My mom, who is the most polite woman on the planet, told her that she could take her invoice and use it as a bookmark for her Bible. I've never been prouder of my mother. Then my ex started texting me. Not apologetic texts. Demanding texts. She wanted me to Venmo her half the cost of the wedding since it was supposed to be for both of us. She said I publicly humiliated her and that I owed her for the therapy she now needs. She said, and I saved this screenshot too, you could have just gone along with it and we could have dealt with it privately later. I did not respond. My buddy who's a lawyer told me not to engage at all and to save everything. Then her maid of honor, who stayed at the party, texted me to warn me that my ex was telling everyone a completely different version of events. In her version, I got cold feet and left her at the altar because I was scared of commitment. She was posting on social media, not naming me directly, but making it obvious, about being abandoned on her wedding day by someone she gave everything to. One post said, "Some people are terrified of a strong woman." The comments were brutal. People who weren't at the wedding were eating it up. Her sorority sisters were writing paragraphs about toxic masculinity. One of her cousins called me a coward in a public comment. So her maid of honor, absolute legend, started quietly sending the screenshots from the group chat to people who were asking what happened. Not blasting it, just one-on-one conversations correcting the record. Within about 48 hours, the narrative completely flipped. People started deleting their comments. Two of her bridesmaids texted me apologies. One of them said, "I'm so sorry. She told us you agreed to the commitment ceremony idea months ago." She'd been lying to her own wedding party. They didn't know this was a last-minute ambush. She told them I was on board. That explains why none of them seemed concerned the morning of the wedding. They thought this was the plan. The financial stuff is where it gets really ugly. So I mentioned I'd been paying for 70% of the wedding. What I didn't mention is that she had access to my wedding planning spreadsheet, the one with all the vendor contacts and payment confirmations. She called 3 of the vendors pretending to be the bride handling logistics and tried to get refunds deposited to her bank account. The florist actually fell for it and processed an $1,800 refund to her before I found out. The caterer called me to verify, and that's how I discovered what she was doing. I called the florist, explained the situation, and they were horrified. They're working with their bank to reverse the transaction, but said it could take weeks. My lawyer friend said, "This is technically fraud, and I could press charges, but that it would probably cost me more in legal fees than the $1,800 is worth." He did send a formal cease and desist letter, though, which felt pretty good. My ex's response to the cease and desist? She had her dad call my lawyer friend and yell at him. Her dad actually said, "My daughter deserves that money for what your client put her through." My friend said, "Sir, your daughter attempted to commit fraud. I'd advise her to return the money before this becomes a criminal matter." Her dad hung up. As for me, I'm doing okay. Not great, but okay. I went back to work on Monday and told my boss the basics. He was surprisingly cool about it and said I could still take the week off if I needed it. I said I'd rather work. Sitting alone in my house isn't great for the mental health right now. The house, right? So she still has stuff here. Clothes, books, her Keurig, about 30 throw pillows that I never agreed to. She wants to come get her things, but she also wants to talk. I told her through text that she can come get her stuff on Saturday between 10 and 2, that my best man will be present, and that there will be no talking. She called me cold and heartless. I didn't respond. I will say this, and I know some of you won't want to hear it. There are moments when I miss her. Not the version of her that ambushed me at the altar. The version from the first 2 years. The one who'd leave sticky notes on my dashboard before work. The one who cried at that documentary about elephants. I'm grieving someone who might not have ever actually existed, and that's the worst part. But I'd rather grieve a lie than live one. More updates to come because I have a feeling Saturday's stuff pickup is going to be a whole thing. Update 2, 9 days later, Saturday pickup plus aftermath. All right, Reddit, grab your popcorn because Saturday happened, and it was exactly the circus I predicted, followed by a twist I absolutely did not see coming. Saturday morning, my best man arrives at 9:30. We set up like it's a military operation. All her stuff is packed in boxes, labeled, and lined up in the garage. I even wrapped the fragile stuff in bubble wrap because despite everything, I'm not trying to be petty about her grandmother's picture frames. I just wanted this done clean and fast. She was supposed to arrive at 10. She showed up at 11:45. Some things never change. But she didn't come alone. She brought her mom and her sister and some guy I've never seen before who turned out to be the insurance guy. The one who drafted the fake prenup. The one who apparently masterminded this whole wedding without marriage strategy. He showed up to my house wearing a polo shirt tucked into khakis like he was here to give me a quote on homeowners insurance. My best man looked at me. I looked at him. He muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." I stepped into the garage and said, "Everything's in the boxes. Take what's yours and go." Her mom immediately started in. "You know, you really should be ashamed of yourself. She loved you, and you embarrassed her in front of everyone." I said, "Ma'am, with all due respect, your daughter tried to trick me into a fake wedding. The boxes are right there." Insurance guy stepped forward, and said, "Actually, I think you two should sit down and discuss the shared asset situation. There are things she's entitled to from the time living together." I said, "I'm sorry, who are you?" "I'm her advisor." "Are you a lawyer?" "I'm a financial consultant." "You sell insurance." My best man actually snorted. Insurance guy got red and started talking about common law marriage and equitable distribution, and a bunch of legal terms he clearly Googled the night before. I let him talk for about 30 seconds and then said, "My lawyer will be in touch. Take the boxes. Leave." My ex had been quiet through all of this, which was unusual. Then she finally spoke. "I just think we should talk. Just us. 5 minutes." "No. You owe me 5 minutes. I don't owe you anything. You tried to steal $1,800 from my florist." Her sister's head snapped toward her. "You did what?" Oh, this was good. Her sister didn't know about the vendor fraud. Her mom didn't know about the vendor fraud. Insurance guy didn't know about the vendor fraud. My ex's face went completely white. "It wasn't stealing. It was my wedding too." "It wasn't a wedding," I said. "You made sure of that." Her sister started going off on her right there in my garage. Apparently her sister had defended her to their entire family, told everyone I was the bad guy, went to bat for her hard. And now she's finding out her sister committed actual fraud. Her sister looked at me and said, "I am so sorry. I didn't know any of this." Her mom, to her credit, shut up for the first time in recorded history. They loaded the boxes into 2 cars. It took about 20 minutes. My ex tried one more time to get me alone. "Can we please just talk on the porch for a second?" And my best man said, no. "Have a good day." She left crying. Her mom left fuming. Insurance guy left looking like he wished he'd stayed home. Her sister left looking like she had a lot of questions for the car ride home. And that should have been the end of it. But this is my life now, so of course it wasn't. Monday morning, I get a call from my landlord. Wait, no, my mortgage company. Apparently, someone had called them claiming to be my spouse and asking about the process for adding a name to the deed. The deed to my house. The mortgage company flagged it because I'm listed as a single borrower and no marriage certificate was on file. They called me to verify, and I almost dropped my phone. I called my lawyer friend immediately. He went from buddy helping out mode to actual lawyer mode real fast. He said this was a pattern of fraud and that I needed to file a police report. Not to be vindictive, to protect myself. So I did. I went to the police station on my lunch break, filed a report documenting the florist refund theft, the mortgage company call, and the overall pattern. The officer taking my report was this older guy who looked like he'd seen everything. He read through my documentation. I brought printed screenshots, the florist statement, the mortgage company's notes, and said, "Son, you dodged a grenade." Not a bullet, a grenade. The police report is now on file. My lawyer friend sent a second, much more serious letter to my ex stating that any further contact with my financial institutions, vendors, or mortgage company would result in criminal fraud charges. He CC'd insurance guy for good measure. The florist refund was reversed. Got confirmation Thursday. That felt like a small win. Now here's where things get unexpectedly heavy. Her dad called me. Not her mom. Her dad. The quiet, tired-looking guy from the wedding day. He called me Wednesday evening and said, "I just want to say I'm sorry. I knew she was making a mistake, and I didn't stop her. I should have." He told me he and her mom had been fighting about it since the wedding. He said her mom enabled this behavior her whole life, and he was too tired to push back. He said he's proud of how I handle myself, and that he understands if I never want to speak to any of them again. I thanked him. I told him I didn't blame him. I meant it. That man looked defeated every time I saw him for the last 4 years, and now I understand why. As for the social media stuff, it died down almost completely after the screenshots circulated. My ex deleted her posts. A few of her friends quietly unfollowed me, which, honestly, good riddance. Her maid of honor and I actually grabbed coffee last week. She said she'd been watching red flags for over a year, but didn't know how to bring it up. She said the group chat screenshots were just the tip of the iceberg. Apparently my ex had been telling different stories to different people for months, keeping everyone in separate information bubbles so nobody could compare notes. Classic manipulation playbook. The financial damage is real. $38,000 for a wedding that didn't happen. Her dad's $5,000 contribution doesn't cover much. I'm not getting the bulk of that money back. It hurts. It's going to take me about 1.5 years to rebuild that savings at my current rate. But you know what costs more than $38,000? A divorce from someone who was already planning how to take your house before you even said, I do. I changed my locks, updated all my passwords, put a freeze on my credit, set up alerts on every financial account I have. My lawyer friend is monitoring for any more funny business. Last thing, a lot of you asked if I'm okay. Honestly, some days yes, some days no. Wednesday night, I found one of her sticky notes behind my nightstand. It said, "You're my favorite human," with a little smiley face. I sat on the floor and stared at it for like 10 minutes. Then I threw it away and made dinner. I'm not going to pretend I came out of this like some action hero who feels nothing. I'm a 31-year-old guy who thought he was going to spend his life with someone and found out in the worst possible way that she never planned to give him the same thing back. That leaves a mark. But I stood up for myself. In front of 200 people, with everything to lose, I stood up for myself. And that's something I can build on. I'm done posting updates about this. Whatever legal stuff happens will happen quietly. I got a therapist appointment next week. First time ever. And yeah, I'm nervous about it. My best man is making me go. He said, and I quote, "Bro, you turned your wedding into a block party. You need to talk to someone." He's probably right. To everyone who reached out, who shared their own stories, who told me I did the right thing, thank you. Genuinely. You made the worst week of my life a little less awful. And to anyone out there whose gut is telling them something is wrong, listen to it. Your gut doesn't care about sunk costs or what people will think or how many RSVPs already came back. Your gut just knows. Trust it. Peace out, Reddit. I'm going to go eat some leftover wedding cake. At least that didn't go to waste.